What guitarist Rich Ward is to Stuck Mojo, John Madden is to the Devils. His first career playoff goal.
These records are owned by Century Media, the same label that had us. And what they did is a company came to them and said, hey, there's still a huge fan base. We'd like to reissue them.
Hard as concrete. I'm not gonna let you let me down. So damn easy when you're living your life. Every time hungry rises to the top, I hope you know we ain't never gonna stop. Come rockin' on the top, we get love to the fans, the we're still rockin'. Rising. Rising.
I'm here to see Rich Ward, the best guitar player in all the world. Just always loved Stuck Mojo. Got introduced to Snapping Necks when I was in Auburn in 1996. And then shortly after that, the Pig Walk record came out and just fell in love with the tone, everything about Stuck Mojo, the best band in the world, and just always support them and represent them every chance I get. Drove all the way from Huntsville, Alabama to get him to sign it and meet him again. He's just the best, and just talking about how much his music means to me. And I know it sounds so cliche, but I am the biggest fan in the world of Rich Ward, that's for sure. He is my guitar god for sure.
When I was 14 years old, they came to Spartanburg, and we went to the Magnolia Street pub and saw them there for the first time. Well, they were the original rap metal, right? Or whatever you want to call it. They were just completely different than anything else was out there at that point in time. I mean, we went from grunge to Stuck Mojo. I mean, you know. So we stuffed envelopes and we handed out flyers and put promotional material, if I remember correctly, like into record stores and guitar centers and stuff like that. It was very nice to meet him today. We had a good conversation. I won't share the details of that, but it was good times. It was nice catching up for a couple minutes.
I've been a fan forever, like going back to Snappin' Necks. So I went to a bunch of those shows, and then I was always at shows, and those times we were always with Rich. It was a good time. I fell in love with them immediately. Went to as many shows as possible, multiple states. Kept in touch with some for a while. It was just a good time. It was fun. It's my youth. Everybody seemed like they were having fun. Yes, there was seriousness, and yes, there was a lot. It was just different, and everybody had their different personalities, but it all worked, and the crowds loved it, and we just all lost our minds. Well, the shirt's just hilarious. So I had lots of Stuck Mojo shirts, like over the years, but this one was pretty funny because, well, now it's funny. At the time, it was funny and it was sarcastic, but now.
Now it makes sense today.
Yeah, now it's kind of, I guess, prophetic.
Been following Stuck Mojo, since the mid-90s. Went to the Masquerade all the time, seeing them, rock the place and everything. It's phenomenal guitarists. One of the nicest, musicians I've ever met and everything. Usually get him to sign everything, and I've got like a whole collection of just Stuck Mojo memorabilia. He's, just really good guy.
I saw online that Rich Ward was going to be here doing autographs at House Wolf Records. I'm from Chattanooga, so I drove down. I've been a Mojo fan since about 96 when I first heard some songs off Pig Walk from a buddy. So I just had to come down and get a couple of my records signed. The music was great. It hit me right at like 8th grade, 9th grade time frame. So that real aggressive music, it was just exactly what I needed right at the right time.
To support Rich Ward and to celebrate the re-release of Stuck Mojo, the rising here, we're excited about it. So.
I was going to say, Rich is fortunate to be a friend. and we wanted to come out and, like Wayne said, support him and pick up some rock and roll.
Well, Stuck Mojo has gotten me through every workout for the last 5 to 10 years. That's all I listen to when I'm in the gym.
And I'm slowing down. I'm the old man on the team now, and I need something to make the blood flow a little better. So you just have to turn it up a little louder.
We love you, buddy, and we're proud of you. That's what I want them to know. So.
Yeah, so proud of you. And hug Miss Julie for us. Rock and roll.
Hey guys, this is Doug, Guardians of the Jukebox. I saw you guys in Atlanta recently at the Boot Barn. It was awesome.
Yeah,
Just wanted to tell
great.
you that, by the
Thanks.
way.
Yeah, thanks for being there.
Oh, thank you. So we were at Rich Ward's re-release of Rising, but I had to ask you, what was Rich like? You've known Rich forever, right?
I've known him for a long time.
What is early 80s Rich Ward and Rich Ward 2025?
There's a lot that hasn't changed. He's still so determined, focused, thoughtful. There's one story. Soon after we had met, I was playing in a band and I had a guitar around my neck, front stage, and next thing you know, it's not making any sound. Couldn't figure it out. Here comes Rich. Comes walking up. Bloop. Puts the cable back in the guitar. I was good to go. Always observant, always thoughtful. There was a point where he was extremely intimidating when he was working out every 10 seconds of his life.
Did you ever join him in the gym?
No. I never got on that train. But yeah, he's just always been a great guy, and it's a pleasure to be in a band with him now. Yeah, I'm just happy to see how everything has worked out for him.
Yeah, man, and I gotta say, I just love what you guys are doing, Guardians.
Thank you.
Man, you guys are just absolutely killing it.
Thank you
I
so
love
much.
it. Hey guys, my name's Scott Bowling, and today we have a special great episode. We're with Rich Ward at House Wolf Records for the re-release of Rising.
It's pretty cool,
Rich?
right?
Yes, man.
It was fun.
I was overwhelmed with all your fans just waiting in line to meet you. This was crazy.
It was, I know.
I mean,
it's one of my friends right there. You can come on through. Come on. Yay. Hip, hip, yay.
Sorry.
No, it's all good. Yeah, it was really, I wanted to do this. Because I love Stuck Mojo. It's my first love, my first band. I started the band when I was still a teenager. With a bunch of young kids who had a dream of doing something different and special, and there was no such thing as new metal, or there's no such thing as rap rock. There was just kind of people trying things. Faith No More and Chili Peppers and Orange 9mm, Psycho Funkopus, all these cool bands that were just trying to mix genres and blend styles, and I got so lucky that all these years later, a guy who works for a company called Brutal Planet Records has been partnering with all these old metal labels and re-releasing their albums on vinyl. And they re-released Rising, which was pretty much, I guess, our genre-defining for Stuck Mojo album. It was our marriage with professional wrestling. It's when I met Diamond Dallas Page. It's when the Rising video was debuted in front of 7 million people on WCW television, on network TV, and we were on tour with Pantera, and we were on tour with Testament, and like things were just happening. And when I heard that this album was being re-released, I wanted to do something special, and I live near this music store. It's like a real old school record store.
Yeah, it was great.
I know, and I love the owner. He really cares about local music. And he cares about cultivating a scene and a community, and I love the sound of that.
Yeah.
Because when you and I were in the 90s music scene, it was a scene. Mm-hmm. That's how the Seven Dust guys and the Stuck Mojo guys and the Miller's Tale guys, all these bands, we hung.
Yeah.
We were like part of a thing, a movement.
You guys made me glad that I was from Atlanta. Like that, I loved it. I love being part of the scene.
We were family. There was a
Yeah.
thing. I was talking to the people who were here tonight. They all had the same story. Saw you at the Masquerade, 97. And they were like, you always had the best shows, but it wasn't just us. It was what we were, it was the thing that we all had together. It was this scene and this community. I would argue that it was every bit as powerful as what was happening in Seattle in 90, 91, 92, what was happening in Atlanta, 94, 96, 94 to 97 maybe.
Exactly. There needs to be a documentary about the scene.
I would think it was, there's a story to be told for sure.
So I found this, I got it in my collection. When's the last time you saw this?
A million years.
Yeah, look at that.
Fan club letter that we used to send out in the mail. Yeah. Yeah.
How would you get one? You just put it on the mailing list and you guys would send it to them?
That's it.
That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just like everything, your mail carrier brought you the news, a month after it happened.
Man.
But
after Pig Walk, did you know what direction you guys wanted to go head to? I mean, did you have a
no,
plan?
we never had plans.
Yeah.
Pig Walk was a record that was written during the Snapping Next album cycle. It sound checks, sometimes during rehearsals, a riff here or there, you recorded on your cassette player. But that was a very different band because those songs, even though Corey Lowry was the bass player, who's now in Seether, even though Corey was in Stuck Mojo for Pig Walk, most of the material, not all of it, but most of it was written before he was in the band. Corey's influence really became apparent on Rising, and you could tell the albums was very different, Pig Walk and Rising, and a lot of that was due to chemistry. Did Corey write all the songs on Rising? No, it was 4 people. It's a band back then was a gang. It was like a professional basketball team. It's the sum total of the people. Nathan Mowry standing right there. He knows tag team wrestling. You're an individual when you're in the ring, but your tag team is the culmination of those 2 wrestlers together and what they mean as a unit, and that's what a band is. Great bands anyway. The bands that every time you see them have different members and stuff, that's fine, but bands like Led Zeppelin, Pink Floyd, the Beatles, they may not have been together for long periods of time, but it was what those individual members meant to that lineup. And Stuck Mojo, The Rising was a special record because it was Bones and Rich and Corey and Bud. And it was a perfect example of what those 4 individuals did when they were on the ice together with Styx. We were a team. I think Pig Walk is a fantastic record. I don't think Rising's any bigger than Pig Walk. It's just different. And I love the fact that every record from Stuck Mojo was so different.
Yes.
It was like,
yes, I think
our evolution and our growth in between albums was like weird.
Yeah.
Even when you listen to Korn records or Linkin Park or Rage Against the Machine, you did not get that crazy evolution from record to record.
Right.
You would see it over the span of 2 or 3 albums maybe.
Yeah.
But every record we did was so different.
So what would you suggest for a fan that's never, or not a fan, someone who's never listened to Stuck Mojo, and you got to give them, here's the Stuck Mojo album you need to listen to first?
I would say Rising, probably because I think that record is like, if you're telling somebody, if you're a chef and you have 4 or 5 of your favorite dishes, but you're asking what dish is going to appeal to a wider palate.
Yeah.
Some people like super spicy food, or some people may like really sweet things. Rising is just the right meal. It's the right introduction to the average Stuck Mojo fan. I think it has all the elements that make the band unique, and I think it also is a nice example of the classic lineup.
Yes.
No disrespect to any other lineup, because all the lineups were fantastic. I love all the records. Even the records that we did in the 2000s, much later, I think they're fantastic records. I still listen to them. I love them. There's something about youth and what happens when you're young and irresponsible and reckless, and that's why people always say, well, the music industry is an industry for the youth. And they are primarily right. As soon as you have a mortgage and you have kids, your priorities change. When you, like Stuck Mojo, when you live in a storage space that has no bathroom, and you, number 1 and number 2, and an ivy patch that's outside the door, you're basically homeless, except that you actually have a structure that you're in. The only thing that separates homeless people from me being in the structure is that I had the benefit of like knowing that some city official wasn't going to tell me to move my tent. And there's something about the desperation of that. And those 4 hungry individuals who had a common goal, and it was us against the world. And when we were opening up for Typo Negative, they were in a bus. And we were the main support band in second of 3. And the opening band was in a bus. And I was still driving the 1977 Dodge van. And people were like, always felt bad for us. I said, don't feel bad for us, because we're really going to smoke these bands. Because the hungriest dog will get the meal.
Yeah.
And Arnold Schwarzenegger used to always talk about it all the time. It's like, you have to stay hungry. And if you're James Hetfield and your only next concern is what you're going to do on your ranch on your off time, you need a producer to remind you of what that hunger was like on, Ride the Lightning. I think it's the same thing with anyone in entertainment.
Yeah.
Your priorities change as you get older, your mindset changes, you lose a little bit of that hunger, and you need people around you to remind you of getting into that mindset. And I think that's the beauty of bands when they're young.
Yes.
It's like, that's why when we listen to that first Korn record, everyone goes, oh, it's incredible. Now, I actually think that some of the newer Korn records are maybe even better, but it's different because they weren't those crazy young kids who were desperate, living, hand to mouth and had nothing. That energy it produces something.
Yes. I love that energy with Snapping Necks. I feel
Me
that
too.
energy.
It's like crazy young. I remember when we recorded Snapping Necks, I was still living in the storage space, and I remember I felt so fortunate because we were in a fancy studio recording in Nashville, and I used to sleep underneath the piano because we didn't have a budget for hotel rooms, so we just asked them, could we stay in the studio? And I remember I slept underneath this $100,000 piano, Bosendorfer, I remember the name of it, super bougie sounding, but I just remember like, I've made it. I'm sleeping under this super expensive piano in this studio that Hank Williams Jr. and Whitney Houston have recorded in, only to go back to my concrete block shed and live like that for another 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
Like people think, oh, you made it, you got signed. Hey,
Yeah, you're rich.
I was still making $15 a day. That's what our record company gave us, our per diem.
Central Media.
Yeah. Like, because we were losing money on touring, but they gave us a salary, so I made $15 a day, all of us did. But you can live off $15 a day, because Taco Bell back then.
Yo quiero Taco Bell.
I mean, that was, you could do it. And my other scam was going to Chinese restaurants, and you could get a quart of rice for $1.
Yeah.
And a quart of rice, you can get full off a quart of rice. And when you've never I never had air conditioning when I was growing up as a kid. Air conditioning was kind of something, it was newer. My mom used to love old houses. So we always lived in houses that were near Grant Park.
Okay.
These old houses built in the 20s, and there was no central air conditioning. You just lift
sweat.
the window.
Yeah,
and
you're good.
that's it. I was never used to creature comforts. So it actually worked good. And I think that was the same way with Corey. Corey grew up rough life. He didn't have, it's same with Bones. None of us were privileged kids. Frank, or Bud, he lived with his mom and his grandma in his 20s. We were all just street kids, trying to figure it out. And I think that was kind of the magic of that band, is that there was no parachute, there was no safety net, there was nothing. There was just 4 dudes against the world. And I think if I have any advice for young bands, it was that you have to decide what you want to do, right? What is your goals? If you just love music and you want to do music, then success is, you can achieve that easy.
Yeah.
Write fun songs, play house parties, and that's success. If your goal is you want to make records and you want to tour the world, well, that's new challenges, and you have to decide what you're willing to do for those things.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with Mr. Nathan Mallory.
Nathan Mallory's the man.
Yeah, he is now conquering his second life goal from videographer of doing feature films, and now he's touring the world as a professional wrestler.
Yes, deathmatch wrestler.
That's
too.
exactly right. And you have to decide, what are you willing to do? Are you willing to fly someplace for little money and do it? Because this is what I do. And if you're, and it's, you hear it all the time, well, I never made it. Well, what were your goals? Because if your goals were to be in a killer band, you made it.
You made it.
Yeah. And I think it's always just important to know what you want, and then be okay with saying that I was successful even if we didn't sell 1 million records.
I felt like I made it because I get to interview you, man, Rich Ward.
Stuck Mojo made it because we had no expectations. We just wanted to smoke every band we ever opened up for. You know, like that was always it's the same thing as like if you went to like the underprivileged high school and you played like the rich kids high school, you just wanted to beat them at whatever sport you did.
Yeah.
It's always that way. Like, but it's competition. Competition's a good thing as long as it's not like you want to kill your enemy.
Yeah.
It's always that thing of like, oh my God, you know, that dude was the most handsome guy in high school and he was like, you know, you always wanted to do better for yourself, and you used other people's success as a measuring stick of things that you wanted to achieve.
I'm so glad that you guys have also re-released your live album, Heavy. I was there at that show. It's amazing.
It's an amazing show.
Do you like listening to that record?
I love it.
Yes.
I listen to it all the time.
It sounds so great too.
Andy Sneap.
Andy Sneap's the man.
Yeah, he's the man. We were so lucky. We met Andy Sneap before he was Andy Sneap.
Yeah.
Like, you know, he was producing our records before he was a famous guy. He was known, but he wasn't famous yet. It's like the Pig Walk record was co-produced by Devin Townsend. Devin Townsend, like he's one of the biggest names in all of heavy music, and we were lucky to work with him when he was really just an underground up-and-comer. Stuck Mojo had lots of very fortunate things that happened for us. I mean, we were able to tour with some incredible bands. Our first national tour was opening for Machine Head, right when they were starting to become a big popular band. Like how lucky were we to find ourselves in that position at that time?
Yeah.
You know, and then we went out with Testament, and we went out with Life of Agony, and we went out with Typo Negative when Typo Negative was just starting to blow up. Like, we were just right, we're like Forrest Gump.
Yes.
Right place, right time. But just because doors open, you still have to meet the challenges. Just because you get an opportunity to wrestle in front of 20,000 people against it doesn't mean it's going to go great. Doors open, but you got to walk through it, and you have to, you have to meet the challenge of that opportunity. We were lucky. Just like Forrest Gump, we won the ping pong tournament. Like we just, and I think part of it was too is that we were hustlers. We worked hard. We were willing to play any place, anywhere for any amount of money, because we just wanted to prove ourselves.
Yeah.
And I think we were the right guys at the right time too.
And you open up for Pantera. I mean, that's amazing.
We did open for Pantera in 1998. It's like in Europe, and they watched
spilling
us.
whiskey in his eye. Would always love that story.
Oh yes, it's
with
one
Dime.
of the all-time great. And like they watched us from the side stage every night, and they were my favorite band. So looking like they're just standing there. It's like, and again, we did a tour of Australia years later with Fozzy, and Metallica was on the tour, and so was Slayer, and so was Anthrax. And I watched Slayer with James Hetfield from side stage. I have photographs that Jericho took a picture. He's like, Rich Ward is watching Slayer from side stage with James Hetfield in his white wife beater, just hanging out. It's like, again,
dude, you gotta send us that photo, man.
I have to. It's the most incredible thing. Do you see Jericho? Because it's like one of those things, And, and Jericho hates it when I say this. I was like, but I'm going to say it. I was not the best guitar player in my high school. They were better. It was just that, I love music, and I was never going to do anything else. There was never well, maybe I could be a soccer player or a hairdresser, or maybe I get a job. there was never a question. I meet people all the time at my shows that are like, I remember you from high school. We used to laugh at you because you said you were going to be a rock star. Like, it's like, well, I never really like got rock star. Like, I always think of like Slash or David Bowie, but I'm still playing music for a living.
Oh, dude, in the Atlanta scene, you were a rock star, man.
Well,
in our world, you were.
And I
you
think
still
part
are.
of, I think part of it was just that it was like, again, Forrest Gump, right place, right time.
Yeah.
Atlanta was a cool town because it wasn't like super tribal in that you had to do a certain thing. Like Seattle was grunge. If you didn't fit in with that thing, you had to try another city. You had to move to LA or San Francisco.
Right.
San Francisco was thrash. Remember? Like if you tried doing something other than thrash in the 80s in San Francisco, you had to move to LA or Sacramento. It's like these towns had things. Atlanta didn't. Like Jackal, cool. What else you got? Oh, Collective Soul, come on in. Like it was just happening, and like there was the radio stations were supportive, and there were lots of bars.
Yeah.
And you didn't have to be like Stuck Mojo, 2 black guys and 2 white guys doing rap rock. They didn't say, I don't know, never heard of that crap before. They were just like, sure, come on. Like they gave us opportunities, like to play at places that, and it was cool because I think people just. The South is different. It gets a bad rap. There's a lot of like people are like, South is racist. As someone who has toured the world a lot, the South is not racist. At least no more racist than anybody else. I will just say that.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, I think that the South, because the South, our neighborhoods were integrated early on. Like Hispanics, Asians, whites, blacks lived in the same neighborhoods. In New York, in Boston, you always hear, oh, there's Chinatown. Oh, that's Little Italy. Like, we never had that in Atlanta. Everybody just lived in we all had mixed neighborhoods. And I think that was like beneficial to us because we didn't have our neighborhoods. We didn't even know because Atlanta didn't really have like we messed up so bad during the Civil War, they just burned our city down and said, y'all can start over again. Because Atlanta was a racist area in those periods of time. And they just said, try it again. And then we figured it out. You know, the civil rights movement was happening in Atlanta first. There was all the civil rights leaders. And I think Atlanta was more open-minded to different music and different things because we were exposed to different ideas and different cultures. People love, you know, we were quick to just adopt other people and not, I know it's now called appropriation, but I'm glad that I grew up around a lot of black friends who introduced me to reggae and funk. You know, like I didn't want to be a funk player because I was never going to be as cool as George Clinton, Parliament Funkadelic. Yeah. But I loved it. I'm glad I was exposed to it.
I love that your palate's so open to everything influences.
Yeah.
Like you listen to Stryper.
Stryper, one of my all-time favorites.
Yeah.
80s metal with spandex.
Yeah, but you liked everything. I love that.
I loved everything.
Yeah.
And I went to go see Burning Spear, and I went to go see Black Uhuru, like all these reggae bands. I was like, I just wanted to learn about music and culture and why do people love that band? And I love thrash. The first time I heard Metallica Ride the Lightning, it didn't make any sense to me. It was too heavy. My brain was scrambled because it wasn't like any music that sounded like that
Eddie Trump
at that
said
time.
the same thing. Yeah, he said he didn't get it at first.
I didn't get it.
Yeah.
And later, it made sense. But you know, it's like when somebody starts coming, like I see these kids on TikTok talking this hip hop clicky language, and I was like, I don't know. That's because I'm 55 and but I want to know what is he? Because I don't want to be an old guy who just listens to my same Foghat records. I still listen to those Foghat records, but I want to know what's happening now because I don't want to miss something cool. That was the great thing about, I never had an older brother. So I didn't have anybody teaching me about music, so I came to music record stores. That's what you did. You flip through, and the guy who smoked Camel filterless who worked there, he's like, check this out. I was like, oh shit!
I love that.
Yeah, that's how you found music.
Yes. That's how I found Far Beyond Driven, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know
somebody handed me that?
Ask Morgan. I remember the first time that I came to Morgan's house with a vulgar display of power and said, "You have to listen to this." And Morgan had never heard Pantera before. I felt like that dude, the cool kid. Like, try this drug. You know what I mean? Like when and it's so special because what we have here going on behind us is Guardians of the Jukebox, my 80s tribute band, which the only reason I even have an 80s tribute band is because the pandemic happened. And when the universe closes doors, there's no touring for Fozzy. It opens other doors. And I tried something new because I had time. I've always loved the 80s. I've always loved Journey. I've always loved Foreigner and Styx and Kansas and Rush. And I love the disco era too. I always loved Donna Summer, and because I used to go to the skating rink. Skating rink was a big part of the 80s culture.
And you guys put that in your videos too.
Of course, because it's part of the culture.
With Trevor.
And we're gonna start doing meetups. That's the reason they're here, is because I want to do, not only did I have a signing here or a hangout, but these people are here for the Guardians of the Jukebox. I want to do hangouts. I want to go shoot pool together as a group. I want to go play Dungeons and Dragons as a group.
I love that.
I want to get
like a family.
Yes.
Yeah, I love it.
And also because it gives us an opportunity too to find people in our group who maybe need help. Like, that was the one thing about neighborhoods in the old days. Like, your mom knew all the kids in the neighborhood, and if they were acting out or had trouble, like it was a neighbors, you had a community. I don't even really know my neighbors now. Yeah. And I want to do that again. You know, that's the one thing I really loved about churches, is that like if somebody got sick, you remember in the South, somebody got sick, they brought you covered dishes.
Oh yeah.
If you need it, like, you know what I mean? It's like, if you don't go to church, we should still do that. Yeah. If somebody's mama's sick,
a dish of metal.
That's it. It's like support each other. And then music has saved my life. It's been the greatest thing that's ever happened to me. I still buy records from this store and listen to them all the time. And I want to use music for good things. And I want to be happy. You know, we all deserve to be happy. Music has brought me a lot of happiness, and so I want to try to use it as a platform, which is why we're doing this. And I just wanted to tell you, the honest to God, he's seen the band. Fozzy only plays Atlanta like once every 2 years because we tour. It's just like, how often does Korn play Atlanta? Once every 2 years? Like, bands tour. You get lucky if you get to catch a band a couple of times on a tour. But Guardians of the Jukebox plays in Atlanta almost every month, sometimes almost every week. We play in different areas. And I really want to build a community like Stuck Mojo had. I want to, even if you don't want to see Rich Ward play a Loverboy song, come hang out and let's build a community. Let's play records together. Let's do this. On a Saturday night, let's hang out. Let's play cards, talk about music. You bring your stack of albums, I bring my stack of records.
No judgment either.
Yeah.
Don't
Nathan brings his.
You know?
What do you got?
Yeah.
Holy mackerel, the first Molly Hatchet record. Hell yeah. Like, I want to, you know what I mean? I think it's, and
I think it's a great idea.
I really think it would be good. And that's one of the reasons I invited you to do this, is because I wanted to say, I think we should do this. Mm-hmm. Because you and I are big into community. You and I are big into the Atlanta music scene.
Yeah.
Most of your content comes from people within the music Atlanta music community. Now, there are people outside of it. Obviously, you've had huge names from a lot of big bands, but your focus has been on Atlanta.
Yes.
And I think that it would be really cool if we started to do something where we actually built a scene again. Mm-hmm. If there's young bands who need help, ask questions. How can I help you? And also, if, we used to actually have meetings like this in the Atlanta music scene. We used to meet at a local studio, and it was just a good resource to get together. How can we help each other? Mm-hmm. How can we continue to build? Because this scene is fractured, I mean, think about this. It's like Corey and I were in a band and used to ride down the road, but we talked to each other, once every 4 or 5 months? Mm-hmm. We barely talk to each other because we're busy. Morgan and I grew up Morgan auditioned for Stuck Mojo. Like, I've known these people, but we barely talk to each other. But it'd be great to just have these regular things and just say, hey, everybody's busy. I get it. Mm-hmm. Let's get together. And let's invite young bands. And let's get feedback. What are you guys doing? How are you building your scene? This is how we did it. We can learn from the youth. They can learn from the old timers. We could talk and we can try to build a community again in the metro Atlanta area. The same way that Nathan and Gary have done with Southern Honor.
Yeah.
You build a wrestling community where everybody starts to know each other and they can help each other. Because they're working together in other promotions. They're not just doing Southern Honor, but they're using Southern Honor as this jumping off platform. It is a brilliant way, and musicians have forgot. Hip hop guys do it. They're all on each other's records. They all hang together, and rock guys are like, they can't even call each other, you know? And I would love for today to be the start of something.
Yes.
You and me,
Yes.
Rich Ward and Scott Bowling. We're going to start
like it.
something, and that's why I wanted to start it with this podcast, because this podcast is important to this community. You reach out to bands who really nobody knows who they are because you have an interest in helping them. And we can, I think the community can then meet you and these bands that you work with and continue to build this thing into something special where we can help each other.
Amen.
Yeah.
I love it. Tomorrow's your birthday.
Yes.
I got you a present. So you must open it on camera, and
Aww.
if you don't like it, you got to say you like it.
It came from you, so I know I love it.
It's just a
I'm 38. Yay.
38, yeah.
I was so lucky to be born in 1969 because that means I was like a young kid when Led Zeppelin was making records. Like,
yes, and Kiss and everything, yeah.
I know, amazing. And they're on the TV. Imagine how special it was when you only had 3 channels. Like, Kiss is on TV, oh my God.
Yeah.
Wow, it came with foam.
That's right. I don't know how big of a Tom Petty fan you are, but I figured you like it. You like it?
Oh my God, dude.
Look at that. Autographed. Tom Petty, blatant great.
Oh my God.
I'm so glad you like it. I love it.
I love you. My name is Rich Ward. This is Scott Bowling. And you're watching Good Company.
Oh yeah. You like it? Love it, man.